You don't just come out of the gate and start running and all of a sudden you can run a marathon at a 6-minute pace. That's not how it works. You're gonna go slow. You're gonna have to work hard. You're gonna have to do a lot of practice to be able to run that distance at that pace. Same is true for the mental side of what we do. Again, Great Divide 100 miler coming up 2 weeks from now. I don't know that I'm ready. I don't know that it matters. We're gonna show up and we're gonna do the damn thing. So in other news, we've got a few weeks left in the Mr. Health and Fitness competition. I've moved up to 3rd. That's a big deal. I've been stuck in 4th for a long time. If you voted, thank you. If you haven't yet, you can find the link in the description. One of my creator friends suggested to me that I go to New York and do a run with Casey Neistat. It's been working with some small content creators. So Casey, if you hear this and you want to find a running buddy, I'm down. Let's go. I'll go to New York. You can come to Colorado Springs. We'll hit the trails. Whatever you want, man. Let's do it. Man. Today was a tough one. 5 by 5 minutes hard with a little bit of rest in between to recover. Importantly, recover, not standing rest. That's one of those things that the more you do this, the more it's important to do. It's really easy at the end of a hard interval to bend over and stop and stand and catch your breath. But the adaptation comes in continuing to move and recover while you're moving. So if you're stopping immediately after a hard interval and just standing there, you're not getting the full adaptation that you'll need come race day. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a coach, but that's what I've seen work for me, is that the more time I spend trying to actively recover and move my body following a hard interval, even if it's just walking, the better shape I'm in come race day than if when I finished a hard interval, I just stopped and hunched over and stood, even with my hands on my head. It's better for me to keep moving, to try and jog and recover while moving instead of recovering in place. Just something to try on your next interval day. Let's talk today about what to do if you don't feel quite ready for your upcoming race. I can relate. I'm in that position right now. I am 2 weeks out from my very first ever 100-mile race. Then it's straight on to building for the Cowboy 200 in September. The last couple of weeks have been totally insane. I've had family in town, my daughter's had a birthday, we've been doing all kinds of fun and crazy stuff for them. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a really good time to rest and recharge and recover. But it's also meant I've missed a lot of workouts. And there have been other times, which I've talked to you about, where I've missed a lot of workouts. I've been sick, I've had work things come up, and it's been really, really tough to get anything at all in. And I've not done a great job of getting in what I can. That's the first thing you really need to focus on during these times, and I don't do a good job of that. In times where it's super crazy and you've got a build that you're in the middle of and you're trying to get ready for this race and everything around you is just stopping you in one way or another from getting your workout in. Do you have 15 minutes? Do you have 20 minutes? Do you have 30? Can you get 5 minutes in? Doing something is better than doing nothing. And I'm saying this as much for me as I am for you, because I don't do a great job of that. I started to last week. I had an hour run that I was supposed to do during the week, and I didn't have an hour. I had about 45 minutes. That was all the time that I could find. And so I went and I did 45 minutes worth of exercise because that's what I had time for. Did it mean I got all of the intervals in? No, I didn't even come close. But I got something in. And that counts, that matters. Not only from a physical perspective of just getting the body some exercise and keeping it moving and keeping the momentum, but from a mental perspective, that practice of do what you can, when you can, for as long as you can, is really, really important. It's a very critical skill to have on race day in these long events where you've been plugging along for hours and hours on end and you just don't know what your body has left. The ability to just step back and say, I'm going to do what I can, when I can, for as long as I can, right now. Whether that's walking or crawling or running, whatever it looks like, whether that's an 8-minute pace or a 10-minute pace or a 15-minute pace or a 5-minute pace. I'm doing what I can, when I can, for as long as I can, right now. And when I get to that next aid station, then I can take a little bit of a break. I can sit down, I can massage my feet, I can get some food, I can refuel, I can re-strategize, I can talk to some people. That's a huge skill to develop, and the best time to do that is in the middle of the week when your kids need something, your family's in town, work is going crazy, you've got 150 things on your to-do list, and number 147 is go for a run. When you have the time, you do what you can, when you can, for as long as you can, and you do it right now. I need to do better at developing that skill. I'm not very good at it. I'm trying to get better at it. It takes practice, like anything. You don't just come out of the gate and start running and all of a sudden you can run a marathon at a 6-minute pace. That's not how it works. You're gonna go slow. You're gonna have to work hard. You're gonna have to do a lot of practice to be able to run that distance at that pace. Same is true for the mental side of what we do. When everything is against you, when everything else says you don't have time to do this, finding a way to do something, even if it's not the full 60 minutes that you have planned, it's okay. If you have 20 minutes, go for 20 minutes. If you have 30 minutes, go for 30 minutes. Just get something done. I need to do better at that. One of the other interesting things that I heard this week, which has been super helpful as I'm preparing for a race that I don't totally feel ready for, and it's my fault that I'm not ready. It's nobody else's fault. I'm the one who missed those workouts. Nobody made me do it. It's up to me. I saw a video of Bronco Billy earlier this week. Amazing ultra runner, and some really sage advice that I'm clinging on to and using in my own training. Think of your time as water. You only have a certain amount of it to give. And throughout the day, you're watering something. Who knows what that is? Only you can say. But throughout the day, more importantly, you have 60,000 thoughts, situations, things that you can spend your time on. Those are the seeds. And some of them are really positive. Maybe you got a promotion at work. Maybe something happened at home that's really exciting. Maybe you found out that you got into that race that you really, really wanted to get into. Maybe you had a breakthrough in your training. Maybe you had a really good run today. Maybe you had a PR on your bench or your deadlift. Maybe a family member just had a new kid. Whatever it is, you're gonna have some really positive thoughts. On the other end of that spectrum, some of those 60,000 seeds, those 60,000 thoughts, are gonna be negative. They're not gonna be so happy. Maybe you got a bad grade on a report. Maybe you're concerned that you're gonna get fired. Maybe you had a bad interaction with your spouse. Maybe your kids did something that really frustrated you and you reacted really poorly. I'm really guilty of that. All of those things need water to grow. Your time being the water is how you decide which of those things should grow and take up space in your life. Do you choose to water and spend your time thinking of and dwelling on that way that you reacted to the thing your kid did that maybe you should have reacted differently? Do you spend your time thinking about that bad grade on that report? Or do you spend your time watering those thoughts of how good a run you had today? Of that new PR? Of the way that you're performing at work or in some other aspect of your life? Now, not to say there's not value in analyzing those negative seeds and seeing them for what they are as an opportunity to improve. But you're making that choice, that opportunity to improve is the positive side of that same seed, right? So instead of spending your time watering that thought that says, I'm terrible, I did a really poor job. I need to be better. Turning that and analyzing it and saying, here are the ways in which I can be better. Here are the ways in which I can improve. And here's how I'm going to think about doing that in a positive light. You can still water a positive seed. Now, Bronco Billy talked about it in the context of a race, right? So as you're in the middle of a race, the more time you spend thinking about how much it hurts, how tired you are, how long you've been out here, how long you have left, the more likely it is that you are going to drop out of that race and DNF. On the other side, the more time you spend thinking about how amazing it is that your body is able to do this, how good the last several miles may have been, how well you're executing a particular part of your plan, finding those positive things and spending time watering those is going to make it much more likely that you're going to keep going and continue to find more positive things to spend your time on and to water and to grow. And the more time you spend on these negative thoughts, the more they're likely to twist around your legs, pull you down, and keep you there. I'm still working on that. I'm not very good at it yet, but I hope to get better at it, and I'm practicing it in my training. Just today, I hit some points in this 5x5 that did not feel very good. I was not feeling great and needed a little bit of a boost. You come over that next hill, you see something beautiful, focus on that. Get down to it. See what it is. Anything you can find to hold on to, hugely, hugely helpful. One of the things I'm working on with my coach right now is naming the things in the race that I'm most nervous about. What are the things that could totally derail me? What are the things that as I'm working my way towards this race and thinking about, oh God, I hope that doesn't happen. What are those things? Give them a name. Let's put them down on paper and let's talk about them. And then we can talk about strategies on how to avoid them, keep them from happening. What to do if it does start to happen. Do we have any control over that? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But those things that we can control, those are what we should focus on. It's a classic Stoic ideology. Control the things you can, don't worry about the rest. The more you focus on controlling the things that you can control, and the less time you spend focusing on things that you have no control over, the more likely it is that you're going to wind up in a positive place. Or at least, you'll feel positive about the place you wind up in. That's sort of the underlying ethos of the Stoics, right? Is that I can only control my own reactions and my own actions. When I focus on controlling the way that I respond, the more likely it is that I will feel better about wherever it is I wind up. So if I continually think during my race about how terrible it is, how awful I feel, how I totally messed up that last section, I didn't put in enough training, my legs aren't ready, I don't feel good, then I'm going to feel pretty terrible about wherever it is I wind up. Whether that's first place or last place or a DNF or anywhere in between, I'm going to feel pretty terrible about that. If instead I focus on, I did what I could for as long as I could, when I could, I put in the training that I was capable of doing, I worked hard on my training, I didn't let my other obligations slide, I'm here, I'm healthy, I can be out here doing this. That's a big one. We're able to get out and do these things. The more likely it is, I'll feel better at the end of that race, whether I finish first or last or DNF completely. I'll feel much better about that if I spend the time thinking about how am I reacting? Is my reaction positive here? Or am I having a negative reaction? You're much more likely to feel better about where you wind up if you're focusing on controlling the way that you're reacting to the circumstance. I can't control whether or not it rains. I have no control over that. But if it rains, I can do a few things. Number one, I can be prepared for the rain. I can have the right gear. I can have my rain jacket with me. I can have looked at the forecast and know that it's a possibility. And I can be as prepared as I can be for that situation. If that situation happens, I know, time to get out the rain jacket. Time to think about next time I get to my drop bag, I need to grab that extra pair of socks, I need to grab that extra pair of shoes, and I need a different hat because I'm going to be soaking wet and I will love putting on a dry pair of socks and a dry pair of shoes. If instead I'm thinking about, oh my God, it's raining, I'm soaking wet, I'm so miserable, that I'm going to feel miserable. If I've planned for it and I've thought about it and I've given positive energy towards it, if it comes to pass, I'm ready. I've controlled my reaction to an otherwise neutral circumstance. Rain is neutral. Rain's not good or bad. But the way that I've thought about it and the way that I've prepared for it and reacted in the moment when it occurred determines the outcome. This is like really philosophical, and I don't mean for it to be, but at some level, what we do relies on your own mental strength and your philosophy to get you through those really challenging, really difficult times. If you've ever run any distance at all, you know it's not all rainbows and sunshine and dancing through the miles. It's gonna suck. It's gonna be terrible. You're gonna feel like shit. Being prepared and being ready to deal with those circumstances, both physically and mentally, is a critical skill to being able to continue to do these things and to find enjoyment in them. In the meantime, do the algorithm things, like, share, subscribe, comment, send it to your friends, send it to your enemies, I don't care. If you get value out of this, let me know. What do you want to hear next? Looking for new topics all the time. I've got a few ideas. We're going to get a gear update coming up pretty quick. Of course, I'll give you a report on how the Great Divide 100 goes. Until then, see ya.